Hi Fergus, great to see you today. Can you tell me a little bit about what trends you've seen in 2025?
This isn't going to come as a surprise, and everybody talking about AI, and in particular agentic AI. So I think we saw the emergence of agents, and now it's about going into 2026 how those agents are really going to be put to play within workflows. So it's really going beyond ChatGPT into more developed agents. That's what 2025 has happened in my
So people
perspective.
have got the point solutions on their individual agents and now they're looking at what they do next, is
Yeah,
it?
like there's things like Writer AI, Content.ai. There's all these mushrooming tools out there, and people have experimented with them. They've done their co-pilots. Now it's what are they going to do to chain those together into a content supply chain?
Okay, very good. So you see now a trend for 2026 being, building that agentic content supply chain. Would that be fair?
It would, but here's the trend, or here's what's going to happen. I feel next year is there's going to be in-housing for sure, and there's going to be a changed relationship with agency partners, and that's going to involve a change in commercials. This is going to be one of the most complex areas, because I was at a procurement conference just last week and I picked up this, and there was a lot of talk about pricing of agency services and asset-based or deliverable-based pricing. Now, typically, that's been a composition of resource rates. So half an hour of that person, an hour of that person, etc., for developing an item. But think about it in the future when your content supply chain involves some time of a human, some time of a particular agent, agent one, then back to a human, then agent two. How are you going to price that? What model is it? Those models and the different AI tools, they change in the same way Netflix pricing changes, those models also change. So this is going to be in some ways, a way more complex relationship between agency partners and their clients, and the whole element of pricing there.
And in reality, what do you think that means next year for our agency partners? As opposed to
Agency partners are building essentially content factories, content supply chain. The best analogy is to see it like the manufacturing of a car. A car goes on a production line and you've got robots. Think of robots now as agents, and the humans are supervisory to that supply chain. That is to a large extent the future of the development of content. We're going to have agents as robots doing certain things, and we're going to have humans sort of supervising the robots and guiding the robots. And how a car is designed originally is with human genius, creativity. That will remain, but we're going to see robotics or agents when it comes to the rest of content production.
So do you see the biggest trend on the agency side being in how the technology delivers this, or more on their relationship with their brand partners or their client partners?
It's both. Everybody now they're going to be busy figuring out that supply chain, and also what robot to use at what point in the production. And they're going to need help. So clients, customers, corporates are going to need help in designing those supply chains, and then they're going to need help in working out the margins there. How is that? How competitive is that model versus the old model of using humans? And I don't think anybody's worked it out completely.
Yeah, so that's a trend you see, that it's kind of starting. We can hear, we're hearing about it in the literature where people are talking about it a lot, and then you think that's really going to ramp up in 2026. Is that the point on the agency side?
Yeah, well, there's 200 procurement professionals from probably the Fortune 500 in a room last week. None of them had an answer to that. None of them know as yet, because it is a bit nebulous, the whole area of pricing of usage of these models.
Very good. And then on the brand side, Fergus. Can you tell us what you think, how you see emerging kind of in 2026 on the brand side in response to this? Who's going to drive this change? Is it going to be the agency side or the brand side that drives that change in commercials, do you think?
Brand.
Brand.
Brand,
Okay.
because they're invested in efficiency. Agencies are going to be forced to transform themselves. I don't see a death of agencies. I just see them adapting. Corporates don't necessarily want to take on staff. They like to be flexible. So they are going to continue to have service partners, but the services they use, they're going to adapt.
Okay, so we've talked a good bit about that agency, brand relationship and what's going to change in that side. Are there any trends or predictions you have on internal to the brand themselves? Internal to the way they work, or?
Yeah, there's going to be, because of security and risk, there's going to be likely more in-housing of certain things, because there's corporate knowledge that needs to be leveraged in order to develop a very, very effective use of AI. So this, and I haven't worked it out completely, this blend or hybrid between what is in-housed and what gets done externally or leased externally. So I do see a whole sort of leasing the supply chain for a part of, or leasing a factory for a part of the total supply chain on marketing. That's going to be happening. They'll be looking for partners, and it could be a blend of agencies. I'm going to use that to produce X, and I'm going to use another one to produce Y. Pulling that all together is going to be a complex job, and it will require people like us for orchestration, that's for sure.
Yeah, and tell me, it sounds like there's, as you say, an orchestration job. With the changing of the pricing model and the dynamics or commercials changing, how do you see that role then changing of how brands manage agencies? So if you think about it, you're saying, you were basing it on people and hours, and that's how the contract was driven. If that's going to change and it's going to be more maybe outcome-based pricing or deliverable-based pricing, how does that change for how brands or corporates manage their agency relationship? Is there more of a role for procurement in this then to go? How does that all change? Because that's totally different then on how you define success.
The model has been for the last greater than 50 years, probably 100 years, rate cards, hours by role, and we moved into, in the last 10 years, deliverable-based pricing. So working out these new pricing models is definitely going to involve procurement for sure. And then you get into the whole area of, this is going to be very dynamic, this pricing. We all know that these AI companies are not making a profit right now, so they will have to make a profit, and that means charging more, but we don't know what more is right now. How long will they subsidize essentially use of their models? And everybody will be doing different things. We know that, for example, DeepSeek came out and suddenly disrupted OpenAI. So are there going to be other disruptors in this market as well? That's the interesting thing to follow.
And my final question, I suppose, looking at the market, people going through planning now, a lot of corporates especially going through their planning cycle, what would you advise them to be thinking about, I suppose, in return in the area of content supply chain, in-house agency, these things? What should they be considering for that planning?
Well, there's a lot of research and education required for this new. Let's say for the last 50 years, let me look at the palette of agencies I can pick from, and you look at holding companies and you look at independents and you put together a composition. That part remains, but now you got to look at those players with a different sort of lens on and say, okay, are these, how far have these come in terms of their understanding of AI and how they could apply AI? And then have they got particular technology that I could leverage? Or are we going to bring another player in that will be more an aggregator of different models and work with us, the corporate, and work with us, the agency. So there's totally different partner networks that are going to develop in the coming year, for sure.